It's realizing that I'm not better than anybody else in this world, no matter who I am, no matter what I have. I'm not better than anyone. No matter how much I work on myself, internally and externally, it still doesn't make me better than anybody else on this planet. Because the moment you start believing that you're above someone else, God sees that and puts you below them. He sees you as beneath them. And that's a belief system that I believe the world needs to start adopting. Because once we start adopting that, we won't compare ourselves and think, you know what, because I have certain attributes externally and internally that I can use as a reason to think I'm better than someone else. And that same belief system is the reason why we have oppression in the world. The oppression, human beings oppressing other human beings. And it starts from the lowest places to the highest places. It starts with all of that. It's all, within all of that. We have to stop believing that human beings can be quantified into value systems primarily based on external qualities, most importantly. We're all thinking that we're better than each other. And we all want to be better than each other. We all want to compare and compete. And that's the problem, man. Is that we're living in a world of people that are constantly focusing on how they can rise above others. And as long as you believe that, the longer you're feeding into the system of oppression, the whole concept of oppressing. And that's why our society is the way it is. It's wrong, man. You know, the more money you make doesn't make you any closer to God. The higher you climb the pyramid doesn't mean you're getting closer to God. You're getting closer to heaven. That's what people think. You know what I mean? And that's why I realized, like, yeah, making money is important. You gotta have money in the world. But no matter how much money you make, it doesn't mean you're gonna be a better person. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that. And that's why we have so much struggle in the world and so much problems in the world, because people are not actually working on who they are internally. They're not working on their humanity. They're not working on the love they could have for others, the understanding of others, the acceptance of others. They're focusing on the status and the money they can gain so that they can be above others. It's literally a gigantic system of oppression, and we don't see it. And until we see it, humanity will be the same. There will still be pain and violence and crime and evil and murder and all these things that are just literally playing into the devil's game. It will always continue until we wake up and realize that none of this matters, and what matters the most is loving ourselves and loving another person, loving others. And it takes strength to love. It takes real strength to choose love over fear. It takes strength to see the humanity in another person. But it shouldn't take much strength. When you actually start to love yourself more and more and accept yourself, it becomes so much easier to love. It doesn't take as much strength. You know what I'm saying? It takes more strength to hate. You may think it doesn't, but it takes more strength. You know what I'm saying? It takes more strength. It takes more away from you, if anything. It takes more away from you, you know? And I feel like we gotta slow down and just ask ourselves what we're really here for. We're not here to rise up and so that we can rise above others, so that we can feel better about ourselves. People want more money, not just to have a better life, but because they want to feel better than others. They want to be able to stunt. They want to be able to make themselves look like they're more righteous. You know what I'm saying? They're more worthy. It's a fucking gigantic game, a competition. And it's like, it's a stupid game. It's like some games are not meant to be played. There's no reason. There's no reason to play that game. There's no reason to play the game of trying to be better than others through money and status. And we're all buying into that. We're all buying into that. I don't know why we are. I think it's because we've forgotten the virtues that make society and make people, that we've forgotten the virtues that make a person a beautiful person. You know what I'm saying? Men and women, we've forgotten it. We've forgotten it. And social media absolutely plays a big role in all of this. Social media plays a big role in all of this. Social media allows us to compare. Social media is an envy machine. It's a machine to make other people compare themselves to other people, which is really just another form of oppression. Another form of oppression. Let me get more likes, let me get more followers, let me get better pictures, let me get a better lifestyle so that I can show off and make other people feel less than. And it's not saying don't get those things, but a lot of people just want those things because they want to feel better than others. It's wrong, man. God doesn't like that. God is seeing what we're doing. He knows. And there needs to be a change. There has to be a change, you know? And it starts with each person waking up and realizing that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? That none of that matters. Your accolades, your status, your cars, your designer handbags, all the things that make you rich in the eyes of the world doesn't mean you're better than someone else. And you find that a lot of people who play into that game and believe that game and are totally into that game are really just spiritually poor people. You know what I mean? Spiritually poor. And it's not saying don't make money in this world, but understand that spiritual currency is so much more valuable than external material monetary currency. It's more valuable. You know what I'm saying? That's what really, really makes people really gravitate to you as a person, rather than people gravitating to you for all of the most superficial qualities. It's an interesting game that's being played, you know? And I think this game has been played for eons and eons and eons and eons. And until we wake up to this and we start to actually embody it as a society and it becomes the culture, there'll be more love, there'll be more understanding, there'll be less oppression, there'll be more peace. There will be more peace in the world. We need peace, you know what I'm saying? And I really believe it stems within. There needs to be a revolution, and the revolution doesn't have to be political, it has to be internal, a spiritual revolution within ourselves as people. We need to grow spiritually. That's what's going to help us grow as people. Spiritual growth. Spiritual growth and being able to see the humanity in other human beings and realizing that we're not on different teams. People think they're on different teams still, and they want to remain that way. But it's the reason why there's so much pain in the world. It's because we're oppressing ourselves. When you oppress others, you're oppressing yourself. When you hate others, you're hating yourself. Every time you hate someone, every time you just despise someone else, you're drinking from the cup of poison. Because that emotion that you're feeling towards another person, it doesn't affect that person, because that person can be on the other side of the world, that person can be across the street. They don't feel that emotion. You're feeling that emotion. So when you hate someone else, you're literally hating yourself. It's a game of hating oneself. Hatred towards another human being is self-hatred. When you hate someone else, you hate yourself, because you are willingly drinking the poison. You're drinking the poison. And that's what's fucked up, man. I wish that people would wake up to that and understand that and see that and know that. I don't know what has to happen. I don't know what needs to change, but I believe we got to start speaking up. And I think that really starts when we're children. It starts in the education system. There needs to be classes on how to love yourself, how to respect yourself, how to accept yourself. And that will teach us how to love and accept and respect others. And there won't be so much oppression. But we're being taught all the wrong things in school. We're being taught all the things that, matter, but don't matter as much as what really matters. And that's loving ourselves. Having self-love is everything. The more you love yourself, the more you'll be able to love others. The more you accept yourself, the more you'll be able to accept others. And the more we understand that, the less racism, sexism, classism, educational elitism, and religionism will be removed from society. There won't be so much oppression. There won't be so much war. There won't be so much crime and violence. All that will just start to dissipate, and we can create a better society, a better world. And it's like, the thing about America is that because we don't see bombs blowing up and people dying in the streets, we think that everything's okay, so let's just keep it the way it is. But when I look at the world, I'm like, there's still so much division and so much of a lack of humanity. There's people that will be dying in the street. If it's a homeless man and he's just crawling over the street and he's dying, there's people who will walk right past that guy. Won't even care, won't even look twice. can't see the humanity in that person. You know why? Oh, because he lives on the street. So therefore, he's subhuman. And because he's subhuman, he doesn't matter. Walk past him. Don't try to help him. Who cares? He's a homeless person. That's wrong, man. When we even think like that, that's oppression. Even on the smallest level. If that's happening on the smallest level, it's happening on the biggest level. But it happens even in just within day-to-day life. And this is why we have to stop looking at other people and thinking that because they lack certain qualities that are external factors in the world, that somehow they're less than me. They're less than you. They're less than others who have more. And that's what's wrong, man. And that's why there's so much homelessness. Because people see homeless people and say, well, because they're homeless, they don't matter. Because they're homeless, they're subhuman. We don't care. We don't need to care about those people. Just let them be what they are. You know what I'm saying? Let's point at them. Look at that homeless person. Look at that homeless person. But instead of looking at that homeless person and judging them, ask yourself how you can help that person. You know what I'm saying? How can we have less of that in the world? Rather than seeing it and just turning a blind eye, or seeing it and looking down on them. You don't know where that person's been. You don't know what that person has had to endure to have, and why they're in that place. And it's not saying you have to have sympathy, but having empathy, putting yourself in that person's shoes, and recognizing that we need each other, and that, you know, it all begins with just a conversation with that person, or just giving what you can, or sending love. When you walk by a homeless person, don't laugh at them or hate on them. Say a prayer for them. You know what I'm saying? Don't look at that person and look down on them because they have less or because they're struggling. Say a prayer for that person. Have empathy for them. Prayer is real, you know? We have to learn to do this. And I think that's one of the first things that will end homelessness in our world, is that when you see a homeless person, don't judge them and point fingers at them and say, look at that loser, or laugh at them. See them and say a prayer. Send good love to them. If you have nothing to give, send a prayer. But what we do is we walk by them and we judge them and we make fun of them or diss them and say, look at this crackhead, or look at this fucking, you know, degenerate, and just keep walking. And that's terrible, man. That's a terrible thing that we're doing. And this is why the world is the way it is. You know what I mean? Because we think it's okay to do these things. It's not okay. It's absolutely wrong. And I think, you know, God sees that, and it's ugly. It's very ugly energy. And like I said, whenever you see a homeless person, don't view them as subhuman and walk past them and just shake your head and look at them. Look at them and see how you can help that person. If you have nothing to give in that moment, send them a prayer. Give them good energy. Even if they can't give it back, still give that. Because it compounds, and that energy and frequency, it doesn't die, it goes out into the world. And the more that we recognize that and understand that, we should not point fingers at people who are struggling and think we're better than them. We should be sending love to these people. And this is what will improve our society. Whenever you see one group of people who are in pain and struggling, don't judge them based upon that and say it's not my problem. It's all of our problem. As long as one person's being oppressed, we're all being oppressed. And that's something that we have to recognize. And it doesn't mean you have to be, you know, a fucking activist running through the streets with a fucking picket sign. It means just cultivating that energy and teaching that to the people around you. And that's what will help our world become better. We have to learn how to love one another. And this stuff is not small. We think these are little small things that it don't matter because it's not money-based. It's not status-based. So why should we think about that? It means everything. When you love yourself, you can love others. When you accept yourself, you can accept others. When you can respect yourself, you can respect others. And this is what will end racism, sexism, and classism, and all the isms that are oppressing us in our world today. We have to wake up to this stuff because the future of humanity depends on this. It depends on it. It depends on it because robots are coming, technology is coming, and more oppression is coming if we don't wake up to this. And it's time. Our society needs to wake up to this. It needs to wake up to the power of love and realizing that it really is the most powerful force in the universe. It's the highest, most powerful. And that's why we have to learn how to love ourselves. And too many children are struggling in this world because they don't feel love within and they're not taught how to love themselves. And that allows them to grow up to be unhappy adults who don't love themselves. And unhappy adults who don't love themselves meet and congregate with unhappy adults who don't love themselves, and they have children together and they create more unhappy people who don't love themselves, and it just perpetuates a society of people who are unhappy and who don't love themselves. That's the problem, and we have to wake up to that. And I think that it really starts in the schools. It starts with the type of content that's being shown to us on television. It starts with the media talking about it. How often do you hear politicians talking about how society can be more loving, how society can be more understanding, how can we start to come together as a society? We focus on all these things, these nuances that are important, but the root of the problem is a lack of love and humanity in society. And it can be taught to the world through propaganda. It can be taught to the world through content and culture and just ideologies that can be permeating in society, a society of love and a society of seeing each other as fellow human beings, rather than seeing the divisions and the lines drawn across from us. And that's how we continue the problem: war, oppression, death, pain, struggle, unnecessary pain and struggle. Things that are just like manifestation.